Nuclear Revenge. Episode 1. I've been getting revenge on this titch for 20 years. Some time ago, I was hired by a CEO I'd worked with before. We were good friends, and when his new company stopped making sales, he specifically poached me. The company hadn't made a single sale in 2 years. In the first year, the product was in beta, was simply too early to sell. In the second year, they realized that using IT people to sell a product to top executives was the tedious sales model imaginable. Generally, there are exceptions, but these two types of people, techies and salespeople, simply speak different languages. Techies speak tech language, while salespeople talk about benefits and how the product meets customer needs. I'm good at translating technical jargon into human language so clients understand how things will work for them. The job was an hour and a half from my home, one way. So the CEO said I could work from home if I maintained the CRM, attended important meetings, and sent a daily sales report. In the first month, I still commuted to the office daily, spending 3 hours a day on the road. It was important for me to build strong connections with other departments, develop a sales strategy, and earn the trust of department heads. After fully immersing myself, I was ready to launch the strategy. Then a new VP of sales joined the company, the titch boss. She was hired 4 days before I went into the field with customers. She came from banking, with extensive experience selling and marketing financial products. And I hated her from the first minute. She understood absolutely nothing about tech, and I wasted tons of time trying to bring her up to speed time I needed for my strategy. She was hired solely because she had experience attracting investors. Nevertheless, I pushed forward, traveled to the target state, and spent 19 days crisscrossing it. When I returned, I had 17 signed contracts worth about $2 million. The CEO was thrilled. 6 months passed. I worked from home. Everything was smooth. Sales were rolling. CEO was happy. Everything was great. TH boss landed an investor willing to put $6 million into the company, and he was scheduled to visit for an introductory meeting. She asked me to attend because the investor insisted on meeting a salesperson in person. 1 second before we walked into the most critical meeting, she pulled me aside and said we needed to cover up a lie she'd already told. Essentially, she doubled my actual sales numbers. I immediately refused. She claimed the CEO knew and approved. During the meeting, the investor glanced at the presentation data, which included my inflated metrics, and bluntly asked, "How many sales do you actually make per month?" That TH stood behind him, frantically waving her arms. But I didn't care. I told the truth. The investor stared at the document showing different numbers. She glared daggers at me from behind him. Dead silence. No one spoke a word. I asked to see the document. Then, like magic, fate handed me a lifeline. I said, "Oh, looks like the numbers were swapped. This matches the real data perfectly if you switch the first 2 digits." The investor was satisfied, and the conversation continued. About a week later, I was with the CIO, Chief Information Officer. Out of nowhere, he casually mentioned my big boobs. I'm not timid, but his words threw me off. It was so unexpected and stupid. That evening, I chatted with my best friend, a lawyer, and mentioned it casually. He said, "You need to report this to the CEO. Let him handle it." Thinking it best to follow protocol, I decided to tell titch boss first, since I reported directly to her. We had no HR department. For context, I also reported directly to the CIO because my role blended sales and technical responsibilities. The next day, I told the CEO. I clarified I wasn't angry or demanding harsh measures. I just wanted him to talk to the CIO to prevent repeats. He said he understood and would address it immediately. 2 days later, I asked if he'd spoken to the CIO. He said no, he'd been busy with investor meetings. I gently insisted, mentioning it wasn't my idea but my lawyer best friend's. He snapped, "Any competent CEO should handle this." I repeated I wasn't angry, but all he heard was lawyer. The guy freaked out at the word lawyer, even though this person was my close friend. We'd worked together for years at 2 companies. I tried calming him, explaining I hadn't consulted a lawyer. I just vented to my best friend, who happens to be a criminal defense attorney. I reiterated I only wanted him to talk to the CIO. He seemed to understand, and we ended the call. The next day, I was working when a lawyer called, saying the company hired her regarding my harassment lawsuit. I was shocked. "That's a mistake. I never filed anything." She replied, "The company believes otherwise." From that moment, everything changed. The CEO was furious I'd caused chaos during investor negotiations. His reaction set the tone, and the company turned against me. B. Boss made my life hell. She forgot to notify me of critical meetings, ignored me when I came to the office, banned me from speaking to the CEO, even though I sold complex multi-million-dollar tech products needing his input, and I reported to him directly. She canceled my pre-approved vacation, did everything possible to make me miserable, and enjoyed it. Meanwhile, I developed serious health issues, eventually needing surgery. It didn't affect my work. I worked remotely, which helped. But B. Boss demanded I commute daily despite the 3-hour round trip. You might ask, why not quit? Find another job? I couldn't. I needed health insurance. Finding a new job quickly was unrealistic. I already had a complex surgery scheduled with 3 surgeons. My doctor provided a note stating I could work remotely. By law, as long as my work wasn't affected, they couldn't force me into the office, especially since remote work was in my original contract. The day before surgery, Boss called to say they'd canceled my health insurance. I hung up and collapsed on the floor. I felt so awful, so emotionally drained. I couldn't take the stress anymore. The next morning, the CEO called in a panic, begging to talk. My mom shut him down. That day, I was officially on leave, en route to the hospital. Turns out, the CEO told the company lawyer they'd canceled my insurance and the lawyer tore him apart, calling it illegal. My insurance was reinstated immediately. While I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, my mom found me a lawyer. It was clear the company was scheming behind my back. I still needed this job physically and mentally. I couldn't hunt for a new one yet. We discovered everything they'd done was illegal. Companies can't retaliate against employees who report violations or harassment. I met my new lawyer. He said I had a strong case for workplace harassment and took me under his wing. Per protocol, I had to keep working while he filed a complaint with the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Time to return to work. While I was on leave, the company moved office planned in advance, but boss refused to tell me the new address, so I couldn't return. The company lawyer said they were legally required to disclose it. So boss gave me wrong directions to make me late on day 1. I walked into the new office-atypical space, but right in front of the CEO's glass office stood a single desk in the middle of the room. My new workspace. And now, attention. I was forbidden from doing sales, or anything really. They'd hired new people who treated me like a leper. Later, I learned boss had slandered me to everyone. Stay away from her, she's dangerous. But I couldn't just sit there, I'd look like an idiot. Per my lawyer's advice, I documented everything they did. Every single detail. Boss started issuing formal reprimands for idiotic reasons. Not answering a call on the first ring, asking a question at a meeting, requesting access to my personnel file, which is legal, though copying it isn't. Each time, I had to sign the reprimand. There was an employee comments section I always wrote. I disagree with this reprimand. This infuriated her. She even issued a separate reprimand for disagreeing with a prior reprimand. Sometimes she'd call me into her office and scream at the top of her lungs. I never reacted. My standard reply was, okay. This drove her insane. Once, she screamed red-faced into my face while I sat there imagining a blood vessel bursting in her brain. My calmness maddened her, but I was determined to see it through. No matter what they did, I endured it stone-faced. Then I'd return to my desk and record it all in my notebook. She hated that notebook. She knew exactly what I was doing and she was right. But it was my personal property, so she couldn't confiscate it. I carried all my belongings everywhere, meetings, bathroom, lunch, because I once caught her rummaging through my desk drawer and my damn bag. It gave me immense pleasure to place a note saying FCKU in my backpack position so she'd see it if she snooped again. And yes, she did. I held it together, though I sobbed on the phone to my lawyer nightly. He heard plenty of my breakdowns. Finally, the day came when my lawyer had all he needed, and I could leave. Better yet, said I didn't owe the company 2 weeks' notice. I returned from lunch, opened a document, and wrote one line. I quit effective immediately. I took it to HR, who knew about the setup, and handed it over. His jaw dropped as he read it. I smiled sweetly, said bye-bye, and walked out. I drove home feeling incredible. A month later, my lawyer and I met with the EEOC, alongside the CEO, boss, and their lawyer. The EEOC was reviewing my complaint. In the US, you can't directly sue for harassment. The EEOC must first issue a right to sue letter if they find merit. My lawyer laid out everything logically, presenting evidence for 40 minutes. Then their turn. Complaints about my poor performance, and their evidence a stack of reprimands from bitch boss. The EEOC officer asked about timing. Were these reprimands issued before or after she reported harassment? Smugly, bitch boss said before, pointing to dates on the documents. The EEOC officer looked at my lawyer. My lawyer looked at me. I looked at Beach Boss, then calmly pulled out my copies. As I handed them over, I heard Titch Boss growl. She shouldn't have those, company property. I showed that the dates on the originals were forged. She'd made copies with blank dates, then backfilled them later. See, every time she issued a reprimand, I had to personally deliver it to the CEO's archive. En route, I'd stop at the copier and make copies. She never knew. The room went dead silent. The EEOC officer examined my copies, set them down, and paused. I still remember her exact words. I've seen injustice and illegal acts from both employees and employers, including document forgery. But I've never seen anyone so stupid as to bring easily disprovable papers. Moreover, employees have every right to keep copies of reprimands. These accusations are a laughable attempt to fabricate a case. She then said I had an excellent chance of winning a lawsuit and suggested they step out to discuss a settlement. Otherwise, it would go to court. They left, and we heard their lawyer tearing into them. You lied to me, lied to the EEOC, submitted forged documents, broke countless laws. Offer a sum large enough to avoid, court you'll lose. They returned with $50,000. We accepted. My lawyer and I danced in the parking lot. I looked up at the EEOC window and saw Boss. She looked shattered and was crying. She'd just been fired. This was only my initial revenge. I'm not vindictive. I get angry, then let go. But Titch Boss was different. I nurtured that anger and swore I'd get even someday. I kept tabs and learned she'd started a financial marketing firm after being fired. So I waited a year before serving revenge. For the past 18 years, I've performed one beautiful, soul-satisfying act. Every year, I visit her company's website, collect all employee emails, phones, and sign them up for aggressive marketing list. Online schools, insurance companies, services that hoard your data longer than a gypsy curse and spam you relentlessly. Lately, I use email bombing services that subscribe an address to thousands of newsletters instantly. I tested it on a burner emailees. It turns your inbox into hell. You get thousands of emails in seconds, and they never fucking stop. You literally have to delete the account. It's unusable. Every year, when I revisit the site for contacts, I see all emails have been updated. Last year, my cousin started working in the same building as Beach Boss's company. I recruited her. She befriended Bitch Boss's receptionist. After I ran my operation, my cousin took her to lunch. The receptionist was in a terrible mood. She said chaos erupted again because IT had to change all corporate email SAN. No one understood why it kept happening. She added that Titch Boss changed her personal number 3 times because it got flooded with spam texts, calls whenever I signed it up for online garbage. Sometimes she'd even posted it on the website. The best part? Learning she'd lost a major client who deemed the company too dysfunctional. That thought warms me at night, and I sleep very well. Edit. Forgot a detail. Someone commented it'd be a plot twist if the investor backed out. It hit me. He did. After I left, they couldn't replicate my sales volume. The investor got nervous. The company survived without Titch Boss or the CEO but struggled for years because of this fiasco. The mother started it. The daughter finished it. I promised my late friend I wouldn't share this story until at least a year after her death. That time has passed. And let me tell you, this story is beautiful. Brutal, but beautiful. Switching to first-person narration now, how my friend told it to me. I was the only child of 2 loving parents. My mom had a difficult pregnancy, and even harder delivery. It was so bad, the doctor said they shouldn't try again. Dad didn't want to lose mom, so he got a vasectomy. It was successful. I was sad I wouldn't have siblings, but my childhood was happy until I grew up. In college, mom was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, high-grade serous carcinoma, the most aggressive type. Her sister and grandmother died from it. We knew her chances were slim. I don't know what Dad was thinking, but he started an affair with a coworker just a few years older than me. She gradually became part of our lives. shopping with us, helping around the house, tutoring me, sitting with mom during chemo when dad and I weren't there. I suspected nothing. I thought she was just kind. Mom fought hard, but it wasn't a fair fight. One day at hospice, we played chutes and ladders. Suddenly, mom went quiet. Then she said, "You know dad won't reverse his vasectomy, right?" I was surprised. "Yeah. Why?" She looked at me. "Just keep that in mind." We kept playing. When I left, I kissed her, and she said, "You'll handle this alone." She died that night. I think she knew but didn't want to scare me. The coworker helped plan the funeral, brought food, cleaned the house, then slowly moved her things in. Within a year, she'd fully moved in. I don't recall what made me dig, but I discovered the affair started shortly after mom's diagnosis. I was furious, disgusted, heartbroken. I grabbed my phone, ready to confront dad and Herbert. Then I had a better idea. Once, she'd mentioned in front of mom and me that she dreamed of having kids with her fiance. Mom knew about the affair and trusted me with the secret. But I chose a different path, the long game. Risky, low odds but worth it. I kept my mouth shut. Watched them date, get engaged, marry 3 years later. At their engagement, I squealed excitedly. At their wedding, I smiled proudly and gave a toast. I even intercepted dad's urology exam results so she wouldn't see them, but he did. Inside, I was screaming for the world to know how they betrayed mom and me during her darkest time. I nearly broke so many times, but I stayed silent. Years passed. We played happy family. I married a wonderful man. We had kids. Dad and his coworker played doting grandparents. But I saw the pain in her eye as she had no children of her own. When I'd almost lost hope, the day came. After mom's death, she and I started a coffee tradition to chat. Inside, I seethed. We laughed, cried, shared moments. That day, she was quiet and broken. I knew she'd been crying. I asked what was wrong. I couldn't believe my ears. For years, she'd tried conceiving, blaming work stress. When her periods grew sparse, she saw a doctor. She was entering perimenopause. Her chances of pregnancy were nearly gone. The doctor said time had run out. As I offered sympathy, she cried, "How? We tried so hard. Why didn't it work?" That's when I knew now. "What? Dad didn't tell you?" I asked. "Tell me what?" She pressed. I fought not to smile. I played I shouldn't tell, and I can't believe he didn't tell you until she begged. I deserved an Oscar. Then I told her about the vasectomy, that dad never planned to reverse it. You should have seen her face. She deflated like a balloon, shoulders slumped, head down, face in hands, sobbing. I wanted to gloat, to poke her face, but I'd look like trash. So I hugged her, rubbed her back, and said, "Your father is a monster. You deserved better. He stole your precious time." I barely held back a smile. As she left, I said I'd always be there, but I knew she'd vanish from my life. Why stay? I'm the daughter of the man who betrayed her. When she left, I didn't cry. I felt joy. It worked. Relief. But also pain that mom missed it. That was the last time I saw or spoke to her. Weeks later, dad called, enraged. She'd packed her things, left him, and filed for divorce. She'd screamed at him for never being honest, for not disclosing the vasectomy or plans to reverse it, despite knowing how badly she wanted kids. For letting her waste her fertile years. For leaving it to me to tell her. He yelled, "How could you do this to us? We loved you." I coldly replied, "You and mom taught me to keep secrets well." I hung up. We never spoke again. Last I heard, he's divorced. People distanced themselves when the truth surfaced. I know I won't see mom after death. What I did was cruel, awful. I should have done what mom wanted, exposed it immediately, not let that woman waste her youth. Even if she'd adopted, she'd likely have died before the child grew up. Still, it's hard to pity someone who slept with a dying woman's husband.